Right, so welcome to the first round of the D1A for 2025 for the spring season. And we're going to get straight into it, and we're going to start with Arizona against St. Mary's, Mike Lawrenson and Amelia. I'm, are you with us?
Yeah. Yeah, the great game. I had a lot of fun. It was good to be in warm weather again, so grateful that Arizona exists. The game was great. I was thinking for early in the second half of the season, I thought the handling errors are going to be a little bit higher, and both teams, to their credit, were really good, really well coached. Defense was solid. Um, I think that there were a few instances of foul play that I missed, just sternum above sternum tackles and things like that. So. I'll definitely have to recalibrate on that. But overall, safe, strong game. Both teams got a chance to showcase their attack, and I think that both teams left happy. There definitely, some decisions that went certain ways that I want to look back on, but there's definitely some learnings for me and some learnings for the team as well. So great game, and yeah, very close.
Amelia?
Yeah, I think that's a good summary of it. I haven't seen D1A matches in a while, and this was a really fun one. Mike did a really good job around the breakdown, which is a hard thing to do when they're pretty hotly contested throughout the match. I think his breakdown accuracy was 100% as far as I could see, and that's really great. He allowed them quick ball, which was uh, despite the score being low, kept the game fast moving. There were a lot of really fun plays. And yeah, I think the one takeaway for Michael is the sternum height foul play, high tackles.
Great. I don't know if Tim is here or any of the coaches, but we can get straight into them.
I think Tim is here. O'Brien.
I'm here.
Hey, Tim.
Hello.
Do you want to add anything before, or do you want to add something after?
Uh, no, I take up too much time. I'm
Okay.
just looking forward to the presentations.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Sure.
Rich, I think the cockerel attempt would be a good one to start.
You don't have your audio on here, right?
I carried my cell phone the entire game and didn't push record, so that was painful. But
Okay. Show display.
yes, please. So Amelia and I discussed this one. These are tough to catch live. I mean, I'm so hyper focused on the ball and the clear out, and if it's a good steal, if it's a good clear release. But the player safety is most important here, and this player is landing on the limb. This is something that we definitely want to eliminate from the game. Albeit soft, on his leg, it's still dangerous. So something that we definitely want to keep an eye out for.
What was the decision here?
I'm pretty sure it was holding on, or I didn't. I felt like his hands hit the ground, and I called him out of it. But I was not focused on the terrible clear out and then landing on his knee.
I think you gave
Maybe
the penalty here
I
for
think I did get. Yeah, I think I did actually. Yeah,
What did you give a penalty for?
holding on.
ball carrier not releasing.
Okay. Yeah. The only thing that I would add here is that we're very close to the goal line, right? And I think we talked about this just positioning wise. When you're closer to the goal line, you need to be closer to the ruck. so that you can manage people out of those situations, and make those decisions a lot quicker. So as you get into the 22, whether the defense or the attack has got the ball, being closer, you're able to manage people out of it verbally, and then also just sort of keep players on side and just have sort of more credibility, especially when you get close to the goal line. So it's just something to consider. What's the next one?
I think, sorry, let me see what they were. Obstruction. Pretty early in the game as well.
Yeah. Did you call use it there or no?
Yes.
Oh, you did. Yeah.
Maybe I should have managed this player out of there. I just didn't think that he was too much in the way. But once I watched number 6, and I thought like his eyes were always on the ball, and he was going for the charge down and was unable
Yeah.
to get access to the ball because of the player in front of him. So
Right.
I just wanted to see if that fit our standard or if I should be trying to manage that player out.
Yeah, as we discussed with the preseason thing, if you can manage the players, if you're closer, you can manage them, You can say, you know, you called use it, and you can just say to the player, make sure you're not in the way. So it could help. It's not always. I mean, it's early in the season, right? So we're still getting used to it. We're still
Yep.
getting used to having to say something to players, right? I know that sort of internationally, they just sort of didn't say anything to players, and players just got out of the way, right? Because all the players know that they shouldn't be there. But I just thought that from our perspective, maybe we want to try and manage it initially until everyone gets used to it. But it's a penalty, sure.
And then, the last one, this is off of a kickoff, and I'm not, it's a tough one. I mean, you can kind of see what you think here, but is there foul play? Is there not foul play?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the one that I was actually just chatting to Jamie about it. So,
Sure, sorry to interject. Have you optimized for video? It's kind of choppy for me.
okay, I'll reshare.
So you're graduating senior, so it won't be a problem. Well, we're not even gonna resubmit you.
Olivia, muting people. Yeah, I muted her. Okay, we're going to look at this again. So we know that when what happened last year is that World Rugby said that if a player jumps before the kick and they then go and make contact with the kicker, they're still responsible for the kicker. But all the examples they showed us, the ball was never charged down, right? So this clip we're going to look at now, the ball was actually charged down by the kicker. I mean, sorry, by the team in play in red. And then the ball actually hits the kicker and then goes forward. So it's quite a lot of things that happen there. Anyone has an opinion about that?
Is that still considered reckless, regardless if he hit the ball or if he charged the ball down or not?
Is the ball being
Yes.
touched relevant? It seems like it's still pretty reckless. Yeah.
This is Tig. This has been ruled on, and Wilk and I've also talked about it. Whether or not you block the ball is irrelevant. You can't take out the kicker.
Do you have anything in writing?
It got put out in writing more than a year ago, at least online. I can hunt it down again. But that's and that has never not been the case, by the way. That's nothing new, nothing changed. Whether or not you touch the ball is irrelevant. You can't take out the kicker.
You're 100% sure about that?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please send me that information?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. For me, I mean, you can see the gears are turning because I'm literally thinking through the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Of like the ball's been charged down, so there is no foul play. But then I thought there might have been head contact. Then I was like, oh, maybe it's reckless. Maybe I'll just go with it. Penalty here. It's a good place in the field to kind of stop this. It was getting a little chippy at this point, so I thought if I just let this play on and kind of just try and play through,
Yeah.
players might take advantage to it. But I thought it's possibly no foul play. I'm not sure of it, but it seemed reckless.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get clarification from because Tig's going to send us the actual written wording for it, so we've got it. So we can clarify that
Well,
and make sure it doesn't happen
I
again.
mean, unlike the NFL, the rugby law gives no exception for it. There's no additional ruling for it. It's been discussed, and but I can put out something formal over my working group's name.
Oh, I thought you said that you actually got you got it in writing from someone. No?
No, our working group provided it in writing nationally a few years back, but I can do it again.
Okay. Great. Thank you. So many complicated things, Mike.
seems like it's every time I have a game, but
Yeah.
these are good learnings.
Anything else to close off there? And we talked about, I mean, Milia mentioned sternum tackles, but I mean, I think that's across the board. Everyone needs to have a look at that. Anything to finish off on what you're taking through to the next game?
Yeah, I think like you said, some better explanations before the game. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
law trials that are being put out, and I think just making sure that the players understand your understanding of it and make sure they're
Yeah.
all on the same page before the game starts is a lot easier than trying to explain it mid-game. So have 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 it written down, be ready for questions, and I think it helps a lot if you get everybody on board before the game starts.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have one thing to add to that, which is just make sure that teams are using technical zones. And if there are people on the other side of the field, make sure there's a sideline rope or other barrier. At one point in the game, some of the Arizona fans came very close to the side of the field while Mike was making a really big decision. And we just don't want those people in our ear and in our space when we're trying to decide things.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just one quick shout out to Gareth Morgan. He was at the game and gave me some great tips as well. So that was great to have a national panel referee watching the game.
Excellent. Yeah. Good stuff. Tim, anything to add?
I don't know, I gotta like nitpick a kid that's hustling down to block a kick. I hear what Teek's saying, but that's an interesting piece of business. On the number one piece that Mike showed, we had a shoulder drop into the middle of the back, and then roll. He moved into a settle roll. Both were negative pieces of business.
Mm-hmm.
Great call on the second clip that Mike showed, and there's a lot of other bits and pieces that I probably should examine with refs and whoever else in private.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Amelia. Okay. Marquise and Amanda, are you with us?
I'm here. I think Marquise is on.
Yeah. So Marquise on.
Okay. Hello?
Hello.
There we go. Sorry about that.
No apology
All right.
needed.
Yeah. Just finishing up my practice with these high school kids. So this game, a really, really good game, especially this part of the season. Despite it being filled with sunshine, it was definitely freezing. So that kind of played a factor into how the boys played and the intensity from time to time. So super combative. Everything was contested. Really good, skillful game. Played at pace. The camera, it just wasn't good, honestly. So it definitely doesn't reflect or show too much of anything. So the instances that we're going to point out on this game are just some instances of foul play and some things that I was kind of working on. So, Matt, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I don't think so. You covered it. Thanks.
Sweet. All right, go ahead, Richard.
Okay. There's one clip in here.
I know it may have to refresh the page
Okay.
because I added some.
Okay. You got 3 here, and I think you got 1 further down. Yeah. Penalty kick reverse. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, you can start with that one. There we go. So simple offsides. 2025, we can't harass that 9, and especially from an offside position. So clear penalty from me. Was no delay in that, so they were clearly rewarded. However, part of my work on is making sure that I eliminate any foul play, and the fact that this was done pretty much right in front of me kind of felt like I needed to assert myself a little bit on the game. So he gets player just sees him, pushes him over, but I reversed it based off of the feeling that I've already taken care of the situation. So if you take matters to your own hands, some things I'm not going to tolerate. Was it soft push? Sure, but I felt like at the moment I need to make that statement. So
Makes a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm sure there was probably nothing after that, right?
No, it was clean. So, ish, clean-ish.
Yeah. Hardly any foul play in the game, too. Yellow card in front of kicker, data roll.
Yeah, either or they all.
This is a close-up. Whoa. That's a yellow card, right?
That was a non-decision on my side. So from my angle, I knew I didn't like the way it looked. However, what I saw, and it was definitely my fault, was not recognizing that momentum didn't go straight and instead carved him out from the side. So it's particularly from this angle, I mean, it's pretty clear. So that's the error on my part. Did talk to the player, but yeah, should have reversed that one.
Was that a chopping tackle?
Yeah. So drop tackle, Could have blown it right away. Um, Played advantage. They score right here. And so for me, it was the fact of not going back and yellow carding that player, but then also realizing, shit, I don't even know which player that was, and I highly ARs definitely didn't either. So no comms. It would have been a bit of a cluster if I tried to figure out, hey, the guy that did this and this and that. So I gotta own that one. But this one, I definitely talked to him afterward, or talked to the captain afterwards, and told him that was a yellow card.
Right.
Tolerate this and that. So
Yeah.
two
Yeah,
missed.
it's just just trying to focus in every moment, right? You got to try and remember that who that player is
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Get a number. Wow, so it's getting dark.
And then this one is
Is this their normal field?
no, this is Western Washington's field.
Okay.
It ain't that beautiful at Central Washington. So I don't even think there's trees over there. So with this one, it's calling six back because they were flirting the entire day on advancing in front of the kicker. Some was kind of material-ish. I know I probably could have did a better job at stamping it out in the middle. But his players definitely made it material by taking away the opportunities to defend, and he kept going and not listening. So that's a clear one for me. But there was a couple other ones in the beginning of the game, positioning wise. I probably need to pivot and look and kind of make eye contact to really hold the players in front, do a better job at holding them.
Sure.
And I think that's going to be the hard part of the season is just making sure that those players are actively retreating on long kicks, that they stop and not advancing. So probably be a little bit more harsh on it in the beginning of the game. And so you don't have to call it at the end. So that's why I had that clip in there.
Right. And we watched that some of those clips of Angus Gardner from, where he always makes a point of looking across the field.
Yeah.
He always looks both ways. So, it's just a matter of scanning both ways all the time, just putting in the extra work.
Yeah. But other than that, like it was a fairly solid game. Penalties in the first half there was plenty. But usually, historically, I mean, I guess my old school of refereeing before our wonderful Wilco came here and taught me the better ways of doing things is to overly manage games, too many non-decisions. So in this game, I was just making sure that I called what I saw, pretty relentless on the standard. But then the fruits of that labor is the second half. PKs went down in half and kind of mellowed out the game. So just not being afraid to call what you see, and then it's kind of refereeing to your abilities. So game was really good, really competitive all the way up to the end. Definitely Central Washington is going to be a really good team this year. Looking forward to seeing how they do the rest of the season.
That's great. Thanks, Marquise.
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda.
Always a pleasure.
Nelson and Nelson. Will and Mark, hello.
Hello. We sound like a pretty bad law firm. Nelson and Nelson.
I thought it was a
Yeah,
band.
there was a band called Nelson, wasn't there?
I've got no idea.
Yeah.
Full Nelson.
Yeah. Full Nelson. Too many Nelsons.
Never enough Nelson.
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it.
Yeah. So first game of the season, UC Davis versus Santa Cruz. I think these are two teams that are I think looking to surprise some people this year and have great years. I think definitely kind of first game vibes where I think players were still kind of figuring out a little bit, kind of had some issues around repeated infringements. So 22 penalties in the game, but ended up having 3 yellow cards for repeated infringement, two two sets of repeated infringements inside the 5, and then one repeated infringement at the scrum, which we'll talk about a bit. But overall, really fun day, and glad to have Mark Nelson review it.
Mark?
Thanks. Will's a very promising referee, young, fit, capable, knowledgeable, everything you want. Some of the things I had for him is just to tighten up the little 1-2% things that to get
Oh,
to
you're not on
become
the
an
call?
elite.
Not on the call?
Ken,
Okay.
you're not muted.
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Everything at the highest level should just have a purpose with your communication, and they include your body language. And Richard said it 1,000 times before. If you do want to look across field and scan, that's fine. And if you do need to motivate a player to encourage them to be onside, that's when you could, just put your arm out. Don't just make that white noise. Don't just put your arm out if they're all onside. So just some things to tighten up there. I think I'm a little out of touch with the Major League Rugby high performance setup at lineout. Had a discussion with Will. I tended to always go to the front of the lineout and put structures in place for the athletes to showcase their abilities, to make sure that the defense is set, they have the space, the defending throwers there, the receivers in the right place, the non-participants are all in place, and then continue on to the back. But I guess maybe the new coaching is just set up at the back if you have ARs and whatnot. It doesn't hurt for you to have a presence in front of the 16 forwards that are taking part of the game, because you're usually dealing with those people the most. And it's just nice to have them look at you and know that you're there.
Absolutely. Mark, can I just add something there, that this is not MLR, right? And we actually want you should make the mark at every line out. So you in the front, set it up, count the players, do everything that you need to do. And, be in that sort of 45-degree angle, whether you're at the front or the back of the line out. If they're standing right behind the line out, it doesn't work, right? Even if you have ARs. I mean, especially now when you have to look, see the ball's not thrown straight and who's contesting and where everybody's standing, just put a bit of effort in and referee the line outs from a better position than standing at the back, And also when you're in front, all the players are more aware of you, when you arrive at every line out, as Mark said. You got all these players, they can see you there, they can see you're engaged and you're part of the game. Thanks, Mark.
Cheers. And then we just had a little bit of a repetitive behavior on the blue loose head, and it's hard to tell with the VO scrum whether it was him or his replacement or whatnot. So we had a chat a little bit, like if he is over there having an issue, causing an issue, not scrumming legally, whatever he is, just go put the onus on him to scrum legally and kind of just maintain that standard until he is proven without a doubt that he is scrumming legally, especially on defensive scrums. And I think Will and I had a really good chat about that and established some great things moving forward. Great job, Will.
Excellent.
And Mark, sorry, Richard, before you move on too, maybe I think the first thing we can talk about too is that scrum sequence. So, because it's kind of nice just to have what the stats are right there. For those who don't have access to the chat, I just put something in there. And what I put in the chat was the 6 scrums, the 6 scrums that the loose head replacement was in for the scrum. So starting at the 55th minute, he came in. Right away, he went into a scrum on defense. Blue had an early engagement, so it was a free kick. The next scrum, it was attacking scrum. He hinged, penalty against him. 5 minutes later, another attacking scrum, he hinges. Then there's another scrum that's fine. He hinges again at the 71st minute, and then at the 78th minute, he hinges again and he gets yellow carded. So I guess maybe my question to the group and everyone on the call is, how best can we handle this? How can we kind of maybe think about this? Because scrums were pretty good before then, but is there any intervention way to kind of avoid this situation.
I think that, and noticed it in one of the other games too, is that, um, you know, we like to start with the loose set and make sure that the loose set is straight and that they're binding properly. But I think one of the biggest issues is to make sure that there's not too much space between them and that when they're binding, they're not pulling and pushing, right? Because I noticed in one of the games, not your game, but in one of the other games, that the tight head was sort of setting up at an angle and pulling that loose set into them, you know. So then the loose set gets penalized for boring in when the tight head's not in the correct position. I think it's just a matter of actually um, being very serious with players, you know,
Yeah,
and
well,
just
we haven't seen the
and
clips yet.
hate to.
Yeah. Would you say that he was weaker or stronger than his opponent?
Weaker. And only, I think, did I find out after the game that this was his first game ever.
Do you know why I asked that question?
I do not.
Because sometimes it means you're getting suckered.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean by meaning what you think is his infraction actually is he's being bent out of position by his opponent, which is why I asked was he the weaker or stronger? And we haven't seen the clips, so we're not. And if you said it's VO video, we're gonna have trouble seeing. But if if you're constantly penalizing the weaker of two opponents in a scrum, you may be missing something.
Yeah, I think just always go back to slowing up the setup. You know, slow down the setup, make sure that everybody's straight and nobody's moving at every point. You know, so that everyone's just steady and that you set it up. And normally, where you can help that player a little bit is that if the ball's being put in on their side, that you can just stand in front of the player putting the ball in for a second and make sure it's steady. So it just gives you that extra moment.
Yeah.
To just make sure that they're not moving, you know. It's a work in progress, Will, and every time you learn something, then something else happens. So,
Totally.
So.
Totally. And then because I think what I was trying to get at too is what I think Jason just put in the chat as well, is when we think about when we need to escalate about in terms of yellow cards or informal or formal chats. Does it matter that essentially that he's screwing up on his own feed, on his own team's feed? Because I think that was what was, I think, causing me to kind of like to start like the escalation process later. Because I didn't have a informal chat with him or really clock it until after the scrum had gone down twice on their put in.
Mark, what were your thoughts? I just want to say that back in the day, Mark was always at the best stats out of all our national panel referees. So, and he pretended that he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I played that card very well. Like I said, I tend to always just start on the defensive lucid because that's the person who's always going to affect it. Especially when someone comes in and changes it, he's got to prove to me that he's going to scrum illegally on defensive stuff. Sorry, I have some people walking in on me real quick. And I just go over there and I just put him under pressure. I don't know if that's the right word. I just set him up to give me a picture that he can scrum legally. And if he doesn't, then it's going to be an issue. I can't make him comply with law. I can just make he wish he did. So, I'm gonna free kick him. I'm gonna penalize him. I'm gonna try to support him and talk to him and try and affect change that way. But if he can't change, then I mean, there's not much you can do other than yellow carding him and bringing on the number one back on. It's just tough, and especially if it's his first game, it's going to be tough. It's hard to believe it's his first game on, but I guess that happens in college and freshman.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Look at your clips, Will.
Yeah. Let's start with that off feet right there. So just context in this, it's second half, relatively clean game. There's a kind of a clean breakaway, and then I think the expectation is that the team retains the ball,
Yeah.
but then that player just goes directly off their feet. Is that one? I was kind of struggling with this because it's expected outcome versus really stupid, really kind of
It's
clear.
it's like setting your standards early in the second half, right? So
Yeah. Morris,
it's
this
pretty
is two
obvious.
minutes into the second half.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, no, because normally what happens is we set our standards early in the game, and then like the half might go great, in the second half, you know, at halftime we tell ourselves how fantastic it is, and then we come out the second half and forget about the standards. And I think it's a good it's a good time to call something like that because you made no effort to stand his feet, right? So that's fair enough. And the player was pretty annoyed about it, the opposition player.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the
But that was,
opposition player could have maybe countered.
yeah, because that was a tough one because I think I lost a bit of like credibility from the white team because like they never call that. And I'm like, on one hand, like I understand where you're coming from, but also you can't just belly flop on the guy.
Did you ask them who are they?
That was a Davis who did that.
No. I said who are
Oh,
the
who
ones
was
who
it?
never call it?
Yeah, exactly. Not in these meetings, Richard. That's where they
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Uh,
Great.
and then let's do the IFOC one is okay just to manage away from. So this is in the 70th minute. There's already been an IFOC um, against Blue. Um, and I'm doing my best to get him to stay. And he only stops when he's kind of I mean, he stops before I blow my whistle, but it's at what point is it too far gone?
Yeah,
And so at
that's
the end, it's a bad picture, but in front of the kicker. I
yeah,
apologize.
yeah. I mean, you just tell them once, and if they don't stop, then they're liable to penalty, right? They're still taking away space, even if he stops where he stopped, you know. And we just got to get it out of the game.
Yep. And then the final one, I think we talked about the repeated score morning. It's just the gray AR work. So again, close game. That score is wrong. I think it's a one score game at this point. It's off a kickoff. It's a long run, and you'll see for yourself. Unfortunately, you don't get a good view of the touchline, but I can attest it was a great call. But I think it was because our AR down here, Piper, was in a great spot, a great trailing right along the line, super calm, cool, collected. Because
Yeah,
the players were getting upset, but she was just like, nope, it's in touch.
excellent. That's
Yeah,
great.
and so yeah, added a lot of value to the game right there. So great positions, great work. So just want to acknowledge that. Of
Thanks, Will. Thanks,
course.
Mark. Morris, I don't know if Lee's on here, but
I don't
over
think
to
he
you.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, he was not the named reviewer, so he's not in
Yeah.
trouble. But I did ask him to see if he had time, and I don't think
Sure.
he was able to watch it, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very nice day in Cal Poly. Um, Gorgeous, good rugby. Um, Very competitive, I would say, for the first half, and then Cal kind of pulled away with it. Um, the stats make it look, I think, fairly ordinary. Six foul play PKs, but that includes two um, non-dangerous things that we're going to talk about. Um, I don't think I've ever seen a game with 100% ball out, and I don't think I ever will again. So I don't know if there's anything I did, but I was grateful for that one. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, the one and only.
Yeah. You never know. It could be a second one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um, if we want to go to the clips, I think there's one that's kind of a series of three. Um,
Yeah.
just it's three lineouts, and it's kind of yeah. But I think we could maybe start with um, intentional knock on more than a penalty. So this is something that the Cal coach definitely asked me about afterwards, and I myself am not really positive on. If you watch the guy at the pillar there, just boop.
Yep.
So 100% intentional knock on. It's cynical. There was probably a bit of an overlap, but I don't know if that's enough for a straight yellow. I mean, it's off the line break. It's on the 5 meter line. It's intentional. So those are all factors in favor. Factors against, it's not a line break itself. There's not an immediate try scoring opportunity. So,
Yeah.
and in the first 10 minutes of the game that I predicted is going to be lopsided, I was like, do I really want to do this right now? So maybe that shouldn't even be part of the decision making.
No, it's pretty much a yellow, I'd say.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any other thoughts on that? Especially as one of the focus areas, right? Hi, Alexis.
I was
thank you, Richard.
thinking.
Oh, go ahead, Jacob. Go ahead.
No, I was thinking if you were worried about giving a yellow for an intentional knock in a situation like that. I mean, I think the player was offside, and I think you could make
for
an
sure.
argument if you were worried about not giving a yellow card for the intentional knock. Because I mean, from this angle, I think it's kind of tough to see. It looks like he might have grabbed a wrist or something. Like it's just such a tight window. I just think you could escape a bit easier if you used offside.
Yeah, it's just a deliberate infringement, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, under pressure.
And I think the thing for me is just like not letting your prediction of how the game is probably going to go color your
absolutely
your decision making in that way.
Yeah. Alexis, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just off of what Jacob was saying, did he hit the scrummy or the ball? Like, yes, he was in an offside position, but what did he do?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the ball.
Okay.
So,
yeah, for sure. Yellow card on the ball.
Yeah.
If it was a scrummy, then it's just offsides, and he's close.
Yeah, and that's tough, for sure.
It's just like
they did end up scoring there for what it's worth, but yeah.
All right, yeah. It's just a matter of like, momentum is with the team in white. Green's under pressure. What are they going to do? So it's just a deliberate infringement.
Yeah, and I guess on the same vein, we can carry right on into this. This is something we talk about a lot, leaving the line out and opting out of mauling illegally. So again, I decided in my prudence to let them off basically and tell Cal to use it or the white team to use it. But I clocked it and I was like, really that really should be a penalty. So
yeah, I think
then I did ping the next one, which is clip 2 out of 3, and then clip 3 out of 3 is the reaction. So I think it was interesting to see that just for myself and for others.
I also think that, remember we discussed about the 27 things you got to look at the line out now, right? So there's a lot to process these days, the line out.
Yeah, but I mean this was very obvious, and so pretty much the same part of the field, same thing. But I've managed to talk myself into doing the right thing here, which is, I play advantage, so I don't blow it right away, but I play advantage. We come back, and take the line out, and then the third one is a try Cal score because Pauly opened the blinds, which is what they're allowed to do, if they do want to try to opt out of mauling. If you watched the Goff report, you will have probably seen this one this week.
They just did it again.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of both, but I mean, they kind of try to step perpendicular at least.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, I mean, it's tough. You don't want to be too ticky-tacky and stuff like that, but it is basically they're deciding to not play a part of the game, and you want to just not let that happen.
Yep. They need to be penalized. The only time you tell the other team, you can tell them to use it as if they've already handed the ball back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean,
if they leave first,
that's the penalty.
That's the more serious thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
There's one more. This is just a quick one. At the top, enough for a penalty. Yeah. I mean, this was just kind of like a weird gut feeling. Like I kind of was like, why? How does this line break even happen? Just watch. I think it's 15-14.
All right.
So
it's difficult.
I decided that he was being very subtle but intentional at where he was going, but I don't know if that's like too marginal to decide that upon. And the thing that did it for me, I think, was he threw up his hands, which to me was like, well, he knows exactly that someone's right behind him.
Absolutely,
if he didn't throw up his hands, maybe I,
for sure.
know.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like often when players put up their hands, it's like they're going like, "Look at me, I'm offside."
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyone else have any thoughts on that? Happy with the penalty? Great, well done, Morris.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Right. So, there's just a couple of things I want to make sure that we cover going into next week because there are a couple of serious things. I think positioning. We keep talking about positioning, right? Positioning, getting to ball in line. I don't mind whether you've been told that you have to step forward and pivot, step forward through the defense and pivot, and whatever you need to do, you need to get to ball in line, right? And you get to ball in line by getting to ball in line as fast as you can. So I noticed quite a few referees running to where they think the ball's where the action's going to happen. And then they're arriving at the breakdown at a sort of 90-degree angle. If you get to ball in line, you'll always arrive at 45 degrees. And then also when you're in that position, you stay north-south with your shoulders facing the touchline. And when you look at the back line, you look right across. So I notice like referees are like looking at the breakdown, they're turning, they square onto the breakdown and walking backwards, right? Got to stay north-south, got to arrive at 45 degrees, and you got to have that angle on the ball, because if you're arriving square on, you can never tell whether the tackler assist or the jackler is actually coming through the gate or not. Because sometimes players are moving backwards, their arms come in through the side, and they're playing the ball, and you blow the holding on penalty. When that team was under pressure. If someone's under pressure, they've got to do a fantastic job of being through the gate, making sure that everybody's released clearly, that the tackler is out the way, and that they get their hands on the ball and they pull, right? So ball in line running, much, much more urgency needed, especially, like a lot of these games go 100 miles an hour, but you've got to put the work in. You've got to put the work in. You got to do the hard yards to actually get there. And then breakdown arrival. It will also help you to see where the game's going to go next. So you don't have to go flat. And also when you get closer to the goal line, we talked about this earlier, in the 22, whether the defense got the ball or the attack's got the ball, you've got to be closer to that breakdown. You've got to be close to the breakdown so you can make sure that if you're going to make a decision, which is always going to be in the 22s, are very important decisions, that you've got credibility, that you're right there and you're making the decision, that you've arrived from the right angle and you can actually be much more accurate, right? And when you get close to the goal line, it's the same thing. Be engaged in the game. Don't referee the game from a distance, right? We talked about it last year in the D1A when suddenly everybody started refereeing the game from a distance. You've got to be there. You can make credible decisions and more accurate decisions. Ball in line running, consistent arrival at the breakdown. We talked about that one in Mark's game about the if you're close enough and you see players are forming those pillars, when you call the player to use it, tell those players to get out of the way, tell them to move, or you can just say to them, don't obstruct, right? Hopefully the coaches will be telling them not to do it. So, and they will get out the way, but try and be proactive, not these players aren't all professional and they haven't all been told that they should never do it again, Sternum tackles, again, just make sure that you just go through that, you get the sternum tackles correct. In front of kicker was the beginning of last season was a focus area. Again, make sure you look across the field, tell players to stop once. If they keep moving up, they're liable to penalty. It's something you can get out of the game very early on. And then at the scrum, we talked about manage the scrum properly. Like every call, there's got to be an action, and make sure that the scrum is steady and if all body positions are straight and nobody's pulling or pushing. So when you call set, that you've had a very stable platform to go set. And then, make sure that nobody's pushing until the ball comes in. And do it for both sides. And as Mark said, you can normally start with a defensive loose head, but if the defensive loose head is now getting it right, then you got to look at the tight head, right? Because I saw in one of the games that the tight head was actually like, as they go and set, would pull the loose head, and then the tight head would just stand at an angle, and then the loose head had nowhere to go but to pour in on him. And then, the tight head got rewarded for it. So it's just something to slow it down and set the scrum up to be successful. One last thing with the pre-match, keep it short. You're not going to tell the players to do anything different. They've been practicing the whole week. All you're doing is introducing yourself, and what you want players to walk away from the pre-match is basically it's going to take you 30 seconds. You're going to leave and they're going to feel like they can trust you today. That's all that you do for the pre-match. Okay. So don't give them a big lecture, right? Just keep it simple and to the point. So we're going into probably like the second week, because we've just taken Morris's game from the very, very first week into the full first week, which was this one. And there are a lot of things to focus on, a lot of focus areas. I will send out an email. We want to try and keep it simple, but I think if you just go back to basics and get your running lines correct, it'll go a long way, right? So thank you, everybody. Really, really appreciate your time. And we got a lot of exciting games coming up this season. We're going to end up with like 120 or 130 games this season. So we've got a lot of work to do, and we appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone. Bye.